Chapter 6, Section 6. Guys. All right. This is called functions of functions. It says function operations. It's called functions of functions. Functions of functions. And this is what it is. You know of a function of like f of x, right? F of x equals x squared. That's a function of x, right? We can have another one that says g of x is equal to x plus 1, right? Whatever we want, right? They're two different functions. Function of x, function of g, or function of x in both, f of x, g of x. What we're going to learn is it's called function of a function, okay? So we're actually taking and we're putting this function part into the other one. Here's what happens. What's my function of x right here? It's x squared, right? So whatever is in my x is x squared. Well, what is my x for this point? It's my x plus 1. So x plus 1 would go in there. See how that worked? All we did is we took what was my g of x right here, right, and stuck it into the x squared. That's a function of a function. Now, we went f g of x. We can also do it the other way. G f of x. Now we take our g of x here. Something right here is my x plus 1. Well, what we're putting f of x into it, f of x is x squared. So it's going to be x squared plus 1. That's functions of functions. It is. This is fun. All right. Another way that we can take a look at this, and another way that we write it out, this just gave you an example. So if I say f of g of x, okay, and you know that we're taking our g of x function and putting it into our f of x function, this is how it can be written. F of g of x, okay? F of g of x, or if we were writing it as a g of x, it can be written as this, g of f of x. Okay? Ga for fog. Okay. And if we're thinking about Fletcher, we can write it this way. H of g of x. All right? Hog. All right. So this is how we write it. We could write it as f of g of x or g of f of x, or in this case, h of g of x. All right? That's how we would look at it. Now, once we have it, we know what this would be represented as. Say f of g of x. And let's go back and say we know that f of x equals, let's say, 3x. G of x equals x plus 1. Okay? And if we want to say my x for my f of x, we can say f of this is 1 equals what? If we want to put a 1 into this, f of 1 would be 3 times 1, right? Or it'd equal to 3. Actually, I'm going backwards on this. Let's go the other way. I'm sorry, Nick. Let's make this g. I apologize. Because it's not going to work the way I have it written here. G of 1 would be 1 plus 1 plus 1, which would equal 2. And if we look at our f of g of x, then when this is 1, so we're going to change this off to 1. It's like putting 1 into our g of x first, and then once we take this and we find the answer here 2, then it would be actually the same as saying f of 2 of x, because our f of g, we got 1, and then the next one would be f of 2, so we'd put 2 into our f of x, which would be 3 times 2, or equals 6. See what I'm doing? See what I'm doing? All right. So we're actually finding the answer for g of x first, and whatever that answer is, then we're going to put it into the f of x and figure that out. This is called function of function. Any questions on that? Anybody have questions on that? Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Now, the hard part's going to be the algebra of this. If I have, let's say, f of x equals x squared, g of x equals x plus 1, and I want to find f of g of x, this is going to be x plus 1 squared, right? The final answer is when you're going to square this out. X squared plus 2x plus 1. All right? All right. So the tough part about this is going to be doing the algebra. You may have f of x maybe 3x squared or something plus x. You may get a function that looks like this. That says f of x equals x squared plus 2x plus 1. G of x equals 3x plus 1. What is f of g of x? So you have to take this right here and replace each of the x's with that and be able to solve it and figure it out. That's when it starts getting a little bit tough. So if I was going to do that, I would have 3x plus 1 squared plus 2 times 3x plus 1 plus 1. And I'd solve it. 9x squared, 1 times 3 is 3, times 2 is 6, plus 6x plus 3, and then I'd go 2 times 3x, which would be 6x. 2 times 1 would be 2, plus 1. And I'd reduce it down. My 9x squared, I could combine my 6x's, plus 12x, combine my 3, my 2, and my 1, plus 6. And that would be my f of g of x. Right? So really the tough part really comes in when you start doing stuff like this. All right? That'll be the hard part, but as long as you know how we work this, everything should come out pretty good. Okay? What have we got here for assignment?
We have a 10-minute speech in English. I'm so mad about that.
All right.
Later.
We will, okay, I started on this. We will work on this starting Tuesday. All right? And there's actually more because what they're doing is they're doing addition and subtraction and that. All right?